Welcome to the Three Old Goalies podcast. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the show. The Three Old Goalies is hosted by Greg Deutsch, Pat Johnston, and Eric Vaughter. Today's special guest from DePauw University, Cristin Allen.
Okay, so we ready to go, Bone?
We're ready.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Season 5, Episode 8 of the Three Old Goalies. We're thrilled that you're here joining us tonight. We have a very special guest who we've had on before, but for technical reasons beyond our control, we weren't able to effectively put the episode on. So we've asked Cristin Allen, head coach of the women's team at DePauw University, to come back and join us. And as always, we're joined by our esteemed panel, Greg Deutsch in Cincinnati. Greg, you doing all right?
I am, EV. How about you?
Okay. I'm doing okay. Pat Johnston out of beautiful Port St. Lucie, Florida. Is that right, Pat?
Close enough, yes.
Close enough. Okay. Okay. And the aforementioned diamond of the show tonight, Cristin Allen, who I personally have had the pleasure of working with for many years at Vanderbilt. And the longer I'm retired, the more I appreciate those times. So without further ado, Greg, I'll turn it over to you for Cristin Allen. Take two.
All right, EV. Well, first, EV, I'm going to go back to you. You know, you said you coached with her, and she was there, quite a long time, as you remember, 5 years. What, was it like? Obviously, the women's game at that point was really starting to take off, I feel, and they were giving a lot of resources to the women's game. And Vanderbilt, I think, definitely stepped up. And you were on that staff. What did you learn from Cristin when you were there?
I learned a lot about administering a team. Okay. And I don't mean that in the paperwork end of things. I mean that in how to deal with individual players, problems, and even their successes to some degree, but learning how to communicate better with female players never was a strong suit of mine. I think you can kind of get away with that as the goalkeeper coach, but one of the things that I've always tried to do when I coach anywhere or any level is to make training and getting and the sport fun, make the game fun for the players. And I kind of had a sidekick in Cristin doing that at Vanderbilt, sometimes to the dismay of Roddy, the head coach. But and I think that was important, particularly at Vanderbilt, which is kind of a hard academic school, and the kids are they get burned out about the second week of October, which of course is the most important week in the season when you're chasing an NCAA tournament berth. So, Cristin had, because of her experience that I'm sure you'll go over as a head coach, at other places before she came on at Vanderbilt. I learned a lot about, how to deal with players and how to get the most out of them and at the same time making it fun. So.
Yeah, Cristin, when you came aboard, what did you know about EV?
Not much. I knew Coach Ronnie. I knew he was a great coach. The girls loved him. I kind of volunteered for the spring before I became, I guess, official. You didn't really ask me this question, but I'm going to answer it myself. It's kind of intimidating as a young coach. You come into the big SEC and you think that everybody's going to be super serious and you got to win and you got to do all these things the right way. But what I immediately knew from Evie is he's just this fun-loving guy who's willing to do the right thing and to push, but it can be fun. And I think that really helped me as a coach realize that like we can be good, we can be serious, but man, they're just kids playing soccer and we have to have fun. And so, that was my initial observation of EV, of just like, oh, like he's keeping it real out here. And that's kind of when I knew. I was like, all right, he's going to be my guy.
So, I'll ask you what I asked EV. What did you learn from EV?
To me, it's the long-term perspective, right? Like it's as a coach in a somewhat pressure situation, you feel like you have to just focus on how do you win the game and how do you get the most and squeeze the most out of your players soccer wise. But really it's about building relationships. It's about, Evie has this inordinate ability to be super serious and like get after the girls, and like they know when it's time to work, like don't test them, right? Like it's down to business. But like in the flip of a second, he has the ability to just like make it enjoyable. And it's like Papa EV out there. You don't want to disappoint them. And so I think being able to have that balance of like, how do I get that out of myself, right? How do I, because the coach, they tell you like, don't worry about being liked, just figure out how to win games and figure out how to do this. But I'm like, I want to be liked to a degree. Like I don't want to make it miserable for myself and for everybody. And so just being able to watch him and, I'm not mentoring the players as much as he's mentoring me, I'll be honest with you. And just to be able to see how it's done at such a high level and to be successful. I mean, it's really hard to do. So I got a front row seat to that for many years.
So Evie, again, we attract all this. Evie, I don't know if our karma or whatever, but another Hall of Famer.
Yes.
Right. I mean, it's inevitable, right? She played at Belmont. She got inducted into their Hall of Fame in 2014. So give us a little history here. What made you want to go to Belmont back then? Because they were just starting, a D1 program. I think it was in its second year, maybe. And what did it come down to at that time? So share with everybody, what club you played for, and again, the journey to Belmont.
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town in Northwest Ohio. I played with boys growing up. I played on the boys high school team. So I joined GTFC when it first started as a club. I was one of the founding members, I guess you could say. So not as well known as it is today. It was just a small club. And, back then there's not email, it's just a phone call and letters. And so the limitations of being seen are very small, right? So there's the ID camps aren't there. So I'll be honest, I only had a few visits. I only had a few people reach out to me. 2 other schools I visited. Then my last visit was Belmont. And I will say what drew me there was this idea that we could come and build a program and I could be a part of that. And I wanted to play, I just wanted to play. And I didn't really at the time care where, but what I found out is what mattered most for the people already in the program. And so it feels so almost silly at the time, but I just hung out with the players in their dorm. And I'm like, I just said, I can hang out with these people. And then the coach at the time, she was a young coach, but she sold me on the vision of what she wanted to build. And again, the idea of like, it was kind of already ingrained in me unknowingly at that point of like, we're going to have fun, but we're going to be challenged and we're going to build something. And it was the idea of like, I need you to help me do this. And to go into a program with only freshmen in it, I had this feeling that I could do something pretty big there. I felt, didn't quite know what that meant exactly, but I just believed in the vision of the coach. I liked the players, and it's obviously a great school. So just knowing kind of all those factors, as someone who recruits now, I tell high school players, you got to have your needs met. You got to have know what you want to kind of go into, know how far away you want to be from home. But at the end of the day, your heart's going to pull you in a place, and it's really about the people that pull you into that place. And so every time I thought about where I wanted to go, it just came down to like, why wouldn't I go there? And why would I, not be able to step into a program and just play and make an impact right away? And that was it for me. That was really important.
So excuse my attention to detail here, but Greg, you said 2014?
She got inducted.
Okay.
I'm a lot older than that.
All right. Carry on.
Thank you, Maestro. All right. Thank you. So yeah, you did, Evie, she still holds the school record for points and assists, which is amazing.
She was a baller, man.
Nice.
She was like the goal scorer. She was more than a striker, but Cristin scored the goals. They got the ball to Cristin. If you're coaching, you're like, hey, we've all been on teams where it's like, dude, it's not really difficult. Get the ball to so and so, and they'll score. And that's what it was.
So, Cristin, share with us. You graduate. What do you think you're going to do in the world? How do you get way into coaching, because you jump into it pretty quick?
Yeah, I mean, when I was in college, I thought I'll be a high school teacher and I'll coach high school. I didn't really think you could actually make this a full-time job, to be honest with you. And my senior year, going into my senior year, I remember going through my credits, and they're like, all right, either you could be a teacher and you go 4.5 years, or you just finish your English degree. And 4, I'm like, I don't want to teach anymore. I want to coach. And so I just knew, and I have plenty of family who have coached high school club. So I knew I wanted to coach. I didn't quite know how I was going to make that happen. So right out of college, I coached club. I coached local high school team. And then again, I kind of jumped on and volunteered. I did a GA at a small D3 school, and I knew I wanted this to be my life. And so when I was still in Nashville, I approached Ronnie and just said, hey, could I just come and volunteer and just learn how to be a part of a program, run it. And it was actually after, so one of the current assistants was there, and I believe in the summer he had left, and I was kind of going through the interview process, interviewing people, not thinking anything of it. And I actually told Ronnie after we had 3 interviews, I was like, Ronnie, I can do this. She was like, what do you mean? I'm like, I can be your assistant. And I remember she was kind of looked at me like, I was like, no offense, but all the people you brought in, I'm like, they're nice, they're good, but I'm like, they don't want this as much as I do. And so again, I don't want to say it was just a feeling, but I was like, I can do this, and I want to do this, and I'm going to be good at this. And so I think you should hire me. And as they say, that's, the rest is history.
Yeah. I mean, 5 years later, you stayed there. What was it like? I mean, here you are, like you say, you're at Goucher College, a D3 school in Maryland. And a year later, you're in the SEC.
Yeah.
You sort of blink and there you are. And obviously there's a lot of changes as far as the level of play. And now you're jumping in as a recruiting coordinator. What were some of the things you were just not ready for?
Oh, I mean, a multitude of things. Where do I start? This sounds, again, dumb, but I remember my first recruiting trip, I'm like, what do I wear? Do I dress nice? Do I wear a t-shirt? And like, just the stupid things like that. I'm like, what do I wear to this thing? I figured that part out quite quickly. One is quite literally the level of play. Like, who do I recruit? Like, how do I go about this? Like, from the literal, like, how do I put a spreadsheet together and go from like the logistics of the recruiting is tough. And then it's, my husband and I he coached college, and we talk about recruiting, and going to games is not recruiting. Going to games is watching games. Recruiting is the follow-up, the finding the emails, the bringing them to campus, the telling them how much you love them and how much they can impact the program, and like all that. I had no idea how to do any of that. And so that was a big learning curve of like, how do I maintain my integrity as a person and show them all these great things, but not pardon my French, kiss their ass, because that's not me. And I don't want to, like, over promise and under deliver, but I want to show them like what they can do, but not, be disingenuous. And so that was probably the biggest learning curve of just like, how do I recruit? What is this all about? And then obviously the SEC level, and Vanderbilt is a very niche school in its own sense. So figuring out, how do I talk about academics? How do I learn about the school? Tough. And then on the soccer side, it was really how do I teach tactics? Like, I, as a player, I can see things and get things cerebrally. I understand, I can see the game, but then how do I teach that to someone? I really had to just kind of watch and observe and learn and listen for quite a while, and just kind of dip my toes in, and just kind of figure out how do I literally talk to players? When do I step in and say something? And again, I'm probably only 2 or 3 years older than some of these players. So it was a bit intimidating at first of, I don't want to say it's everything, but it was everything. And it just took some time for me to gain my confidence as a coach. And, the thing I always tell younger coaches is, well, how do I learn how to do it? You just do it, and you make mistakes and you just figure it out, and you're going to look stupid sometimes, but you got to be willing to look stupid, and be okay with it, as long as you're trying to do what's best. So a lot.
That always worked for me, the looking stupid part, especially.
Yeah, Pat, I want to get your opinion on this. When you started, basically the same question I just asked her. What were some of the things you, quote unquote, didn't know, or, were like, oh my gosh, wow.
When you were talking, Cristin, I was thinking about, like, you had to get a feel for what it was you were selling, right? And you said that the niche thing. And so, for me, Greg, I think when I look back on it now, I know now what I didn't know then is, I didn't know I didn't know this Swanee, the cult of Swanee, I guess is the best way to call it, And so I think I was thinking about all the time I wasted chasing players that had never heard of Swanee, this, that, the other. And I would have been far more effective if they knew it, if they were a legacy. It just, the closing ratio of those kids was so much more prevalent than cold calling a kid in. So I think it, just knowing what works in the environment you're in, and it's not going to be the same everywhere, right? So, I mean, it's, Kyle recruiting at Duke has its own challenges that are unique and make that job difficult, just like Cristin at DePauw has her own difficult challenges, but we learn to be more efficient, I guess is the best way to put it, with our time.
Yeah.
All right. So do you have any funny recruiting stories, Cristin, that you want to share with us when you were at Vanderbilt? Because, as you think, I'm going to, Evie and I had talked about this a long, long time ago, and I'm sure it might be on some prior podcast. The life of you guys, you come in, you stroll in about 9, you have a cup of coffee, you bullshit with, all the other coaches. It's 11:30, you're checking emails, getting back to people. Lunchtime, you're back at about 1:30, having maybe another cup of coffee, go to practice, go home, make some phone calls. So, obviously he was being hilarious about it, but there was a lot of truth to it as well. So
Yeah.
what were some of the funnier recruiting stories that you could share with us?
I'll give you 2. I think I shared one this last time, but that'll be my second story. I'll go back to my very first recruiting trip. I went out to PDA, New Jersey, and I flew out late evening, and I got into Jersey, which we all know is the Jersey airport's terrible. I drove around in a circle, not able to get out of the exit for probably 10 minutes. I had to pull on the side of the road. This is no joke. I pulled on the side of the road, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I don't know how to get out of this thing. And a cop pulls up to me. I'm like, oh my God. And he gets out, he goes to my window, and he's like, can I help you? I was like, yes. I'm like, my hotel, I can see it right there. I don't know how to get to it. And you could just tell his smile was just like, yep. And he's like, I'll drive you there. I'm like, oh my God, thank you, Jesus. And so maybe that was a sign it wasn't for me, but I kept going. The second, I think I told the story, but I never forget, we had this recruit in, and remember her sitting in my office with her mom. And this kind of segues into me like learning about, like, it's more important to recruit the person than the player and figure out who these people are. So she's sitting there, we're talking, and her mom's like, do you want a water, honey? And she's like, yeah, and her mom like pulls out an Aquafina, right? And she looks at her mom and goes, you know what? Only drink Dasani. And I'm like, Evie, I don't remember if you were in there, but I remember
No,
like the
I wasn't.
side eye. Okay, I'm like
No.
side eyeing myself. I'm like, what do I say here? And I know I went to Ronnie and she was like, well, how was her? I'm like, we can't recruit this girl. I'm like, she's a good player. I'm like, I don't care. She is so high maintenance. I'm like, I don't want to deal with her for 4 years. And she was like, are you sure? I'm like, yes. And I'll never forget that look she gave her mom. I'm like, what a brat. Golly. And that was the moment I think where I'm like, okay, it's not just about soccer. We got to recruit some good kids. Otherwise, we're going to get Dasani entitled brats for the rest of our lives. And so,
Do you know where that girl ended up going?
I don't. Gosh, I should have followed her. I'll give you a third one. I'll give you a third. This is a great. She probably did. She probably scored the game-winning goal against us or something. Yeah.
Well,
it burned her out my memory. Yeah, fair enough. Oh my gosh, Evie, do you remember this girl? She wrote us an email and she had a picture of herself she was like a tiger painted face.
Yes.
Doing this. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I wanted that girl to come to campus so badly.
When she was like, was she 9 or 10 or something?
She was like a little girl and her face was like, rah!
Yeah.
And it was like she had just gone to like her county fair and her face was painted like a tiger.
Yeah.
And I'm like, either she's crazy or she knows what she's doing, but either way. And her name was like Sylvia something. I'm like, I'll never forget that. I'm like,
yep.
never got her to campus. She probably scored against us too. So whatever.
Now, maybe both of you could answer either this myth or truth about Vandy. Were there certain athletes that you were able, quote to quote, get in, because maybe they didn't meet the academic requirement of Vanderbilt? How would you both answer that question?
Well, that's Shuby's got to answer that, because I intentionally stayed away from recruiting, and I just, because between Ronnie and Shuby, they got everything done, number one, but number two, I think even when we recruited goalkeepers, I think Shuby and Ronnie brought them in and with their parents, and then we'd have 5 minutes and they'd be like, well, what are we going to work on? I said, we're probably going to work on some goalkeeping, and then, we'll go with the rest of the team, that kind of stuff. And so I never was. So this is Shuby's question, not mine.
I should probably know this a little bit better, but I think we got some leeway. We might have had like a number of like, hey, you got 2. I think every program kind of got and it wasn't hey, you can get a 2.0 kid in here, but it was like some leeway of a quote normal Vanderbilt student who probably couldn't have gotten in without our help, but it was you still had to have some pedigree of academics. It wasn't, but I could look back and probably say, yeah, that was probably one of them, and academically struggling, I guess.
I don't know if the terminology's changed, but we always called them slots. You had X amount of slots.
Yeah. I think we had like a certain number, and if say like that was 2, but there was a third that was like, this is an impact kid. They would kind of help us out. So it was, I don't want to say it was a strict number, but it was like you couldn't get half a team of those by any means. Maybe football and basketball and base, I don't know. Certainly not in soccer.
Share with us, how hard was it to recruit there? Because of some of these other, because of the academic standards, you would have to identify. I can't imagine how many to really get, as Pat was saying, the kid you can sell. Were you caught in any surprise by for instance, somebody you really wanted and you found out there's no way they're getting to this school?
Yeah, I mean, there was always an instance of, we couldn't give the kid as much money as they wanted athletically because, the academic money counted against us. So we really had to have a bigger pool, but again, a very niche pool of like, we had to look at GPAs. Like we weren't going after a kid who's probably below a 3.5 because, it's just going to be a stretch to get them. And I'll be honest, when we got addresses, I Zillowed houses to see like where we live. And it sounds like such like you really, yeah, you had to, because it just gives you an idea of like, if you're looking at a house that's 5 million versus a house back in the day that was, 100,000, you're like, this kid's going to be a stretch. Right.
Yeah.
So
we did it all the time. It was,
you just have to, right?
Yeah.
And I think that the hardest part is like, you really had to get to know the kids. Cause like in my head, it was like, you may be able to get the kid into Vanderbilt, but are they going to fit in and stay at Vanderbilt? Like there's a certain level of, how do I say this? Elitism, right? And it's, all their friends are driving nice cars and they've got, the Dodge Dart, whatever it is. Like it makes that kid feel a little bit, and I even kind of have a little bit of the same at DePauw. Like you got to kind of look out for, because is it going to be a struggle? And it's hard because you feel like you're very much judging and you feel like you're very much like, but you have to, because in my mind, you don't want that kid to be unsuccessful. You don't want them to be really struggling in terms of like, again, not just soccer wise, but like you want them to have a good experience. And so there's certain things in that pool you have to look out for. And, are we wrong sometimes? Sure. 100%. But again, such a niche school where you have to be good soccer wise and you have to be high academics. And oh, by the way, it's $1 million to get in to pay. Like it was tough. Like there were some kids I would look at GPAs and be like, I don't think like, I don't think it's worth it. It's, you got to kind of know, is that kid going to be a stretch if you cold call that kid? That was a tough part, because for me, I'm middle, lower class, small town Ohio. And I'm like, I'm not looking at kids like me. And that was a bit of a, like a, ooh. But.
So EV, jokingly, I mean, were all 3 or 4 of your goalkeepers driving up in, Mercedes Benz or what?
They were all from well-to-do families for the most part. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I didn't, mostly, but it was like I think one of the things that I experienced at Vanderbilt that I didn't experience at the other schools that I coached at was, the kids that came to Vanderbilt wanted the full college experience. Okay. They wanted to play SEC soccer. They wanted to go to SEC football games on the weekends. They wanted to party hardy on Sunday night. They wanted everything. And as everybody on this panel knows, and everybody who's been involved with college soccer knows, at any level, it's a job, right? And so you like Cristin said, you recruit these kids and you tell them how great they are and what a great experience it's going to be. And then on August 7th, when you get them into school, okay, what do you mean, coach? I got to carry the balls? Yes, because you're a freshman, and that kind of, there weren't a lot of kids. It took a year and a half for them to figure out, oh, this is, I've chosen to do this, but this is much harder than I envisioned, because, like we all know it, but if there's anybody who's listening, yeah, you're going flat out from August 6th through, hopefully through the end of the conference tournament. You're lifting weights at 6 o'clock in the morning, then you're going to class, then you're going to soccer, then you're probably joining Melby in the training room to get work done, and then maybe you get to go home and be with your boyfriend for 30 minutes or 2 hours or whatever it is. And then it starts all over again the next day. And there's no break. So a lot of times we would have girls who just, and when we had a men's team, it was kind of the same thing. Is like these kids weren't used to, I guess what they envisioned was not reality when they got there. And it took a while to not break them in, but sort of teach them the ropes.
Yeah. So Cristin, what was it like when you found out, you're gone at Vandy? Because there were a lot
real smooth.
It was great. It was so neat and fun. Loved it.
There were a lot of rumors swirling, at that time about the program because it was sort of like on a little downhill. And I mean, share with us, were you caught off guard? Did you hear some of these rumors? Were you preparing for the worst? Evie, I remember at the time, he's like, I don't give a shit. They can do what they want, very straightforward attitude. What was yours like?
I mean, we kind of knew like, we're kind of on a thin rope here. Like, if I'm being honest, like it was like, we probably need to have a really good year next year. Like maybe this year is it, maybe next year is it. So, we get through conference tournament, we get through November. I'm thinking, okay, no one said anything. We're into December. We're probably safe, I think, So in my head, I'm like, okay, they're going to give us another year. I was actually on a skiing trip with my then boyfriend, now husband, when I got the call. So that turned into me never skiing ever again and hating skiing, if that tells you anything. Ruined Blake's weekend as well. I think again, as still a young coach, like getting fired sucks, right? Like, it's just like, what did I do? Like, and so all these things start to go in your head. And, obviously I was angry and I was mad and like, you kind of want to know why. And then it was like, screw it, I'm moving on, right? Like I kind of like moved to the screw it, I'm just moving on, probably a month or so later after I'd officially been done. And then my mind went to, all right, what's next? Like, I'm ready to kind of run my own program. Like I don't want to say it was a blessing in disguise. Like I would have loved to stay there. Don't get me wrong. I think we had a great rapport as a staff, and I enjoyed my time there for sure. I mean, but it was like, I was ready to do my own thing, and so I started looking for head coaching jobs and just figuring out really what's next. So I took a little bit of like, it was kind of went from anger to, all right, whatever, this sucks, I hate life, but now I'm moving on. So I kind of moved on to that pretty quickly. It took me a little while because it did take me some time to find what was next. And again, a lot of life kind of happened to me in that moment, in that interim. I got engaged, I got married less than a year later. And then my husband was at Western Kentucky. So I moved up there and found a club DOC job. So it was great. I got to, and you look back, like, again, as we all get older, you see the perspective and you're like, everything happens for a reason. And sometimes life sucks and sometimes life has to suck for you to go on to the next thing. Right. And so, I don't want to say I am where I am because of that, but that's part of my story and I wouldn't change it. At the moment, I would have liked to, right? I think we all like to not sit in those moments of whatever, anger, grief, sadness, bitterness, but it is what it is. That's life. And I think that's kind of what I try to tell the players now. I'm like, if you not playing in a game or you getting a small injury, if that's the worst thing that happens to you, consider yourself pretty freaking lucky. Like, because life's going to come and punch you in the face. Not once, not twice. It'll continue to do that. And the better you can learn how to respond to adversity and challenges, the better off your life's going to be. And again, like, I can't go back in time and tell myself that. I think everybody just has to experience it. So again, like, not that it was great in the moment, but it happened. Like, so be it. That's life. And now I'm probably in a weird way better for it.
Yeah.
The problem was, Bone, that we were told we didn't have a good team. Okay. But we were told that if we got to the conference tournament,
yes, yeah,
we were okay. right? I mean,
Oh, we
because we
did.
knew, I mean, the coaching staff knew we were, as Cristin said, we were on thin ice. But we were told by the administration that if we get to the conference tournament, if we got the SEC tournament, we'd be okay. And, you know, like a May promotion and relegation game in the EPL, we squeaked in. We squeaked in on the last day, right? Yeah. And we won some games that we shouldn't have. I mean, throughout the season, we lost a lot that we shouldn't have lost, but we got in. We got in, and so everybody in the staff feel, hey, this is great. We got another year, and as Cristin said, the next year it looked like we were going to be back. Vanderbilt was never great, okay, but we were going to be back in the top half of the conference. And then, so the real kick in the dick was after you've been told one thing, they come in and go, oh no, we changed our minds,
Right.
and it's
Actually,
yeah, and you're like, and that sucked. But at the same time, as what Cristin says is 100% true. As a coach, any coach, regardless if you're the head coach, staff, whatever, you're gonna get let go at some point, and that's just that's the way it is.
Yeah. So, share the pathway to Sky Soccer Club. I mean, like you say, it's located in the western part of the state. Were you, I want to use the word nervous, because you're going again, here we go, SEC to select soccer. I mean, that's got to be an adjustment in so many different levels. So, and you were there, you were there quite a while. So, share with us, some of the anxiety you had. And again, you had a lot of success in helping grow that program. And, today, I don't know if people know, I mean, I believe it is the largest soccer club in the state of Kentucky. And I've been fortunate to meet some of their staff, and just people with the right, their hearts are in the right place.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, when you go, I was coaching a club team still, and I was let go at Vandy, but when you're looking for something, you'll take anything at a certain point. I mean, and that's what it kind of felt like. And that's not to knock Sky, because it turned out to be one of the best things that ever happened to me. And so I started off, it was a weird kind of timing. So I started in May, right before tryouts. I guess not a weird timing. And I was going to coach a couple teams, kind of be the girls director, and just kind of, they had a director, they kind of had people in place. And maybe 2 weeks into the job, I walk into the office, and there are like 5 board members sitting in there, and my 2 colleagues were not. And when you walk in somewhere and you're like, something's not right. Like, I felt that. Okay. I was like, okay, what's happening here? I'm like, great, I'm being let go 2 weeks in the job. Cool. So long story short, they let go of the 2 that were kind of leading it, and they're like, hey, now we want you to do this. And I'm like, what? So what I had to learn was then turned into like, how do I lead a big, the rec program alone was 1,000, 1,500 kids. The select program was probably close to 20, 30 teams at that point, a lot of like B-level teams. And so it was like, you lead one team is one thing, and how to win games, but then to have to lead an organization, and how do I structure this? How do I get coaches? How do I organize fields? How do I, like, again, the infrastructure of how do we price things? Like, I didn't know what a P&L was when we had board meetings. I was like, what are they? They keep saying P&L. And I'm like, I have no idea what this means. And I thought it was like letter PNL. And so I'm looking this up on Google. I'm like, oh my God, what is going on here? And so, and then the club was in a bit of not a great place. I think it was pretty disorganized when I kind of came in. And so I had a lot of parents coming to me, and I remember meeting a couple of parents who ended up being some of my best friends over the years. Like, here's our schedule. We're playing 2 games in 1 tournament. And I'm like, oh. And so I kind of started to see from them what was going on. And so I was able to learn how to put structure into place. And again, how to lead. Like, man, they don't teach you that when you're coaching. They teach you how to run a practice. They teach you how to run a program, but they don't teach you how to lead. And so I got a, front row seat. I just had to figure it out and do it. And I made mistakes. Like, I did things. I'm like, why'd I do that? But man, I learned so much. I learned how to lead people. I learned how to lead coaches. I learned how to make a budget for $1 million plus organization. And that to me at the time sounded like I can barely deal with my own salary and budget that. They're going to give me, so it was intense in a lot of ways, but then to be able to grow the program to, it's not an ECNL program, but what we did, it was like we were able to build it to almost a feeder for Louisville teams and Nashville teams. And, the goal was to get players to be able to, not just move on to ECNL clubs, but like second tier teams, like we were good. And so, and again, it just having the experience of something new and different and being able to just run an organization was, I couldn't plan that.
Community there. Talk a little bit about the community of Bowling Green and the support they gave you.
I mean, Bowling Green is like small town America. It's a pretty good sized town / city, but it is small town America. And I am still in close contact. I've been to a couple of weddings of players that I coached there, which is like the highest honor I think you can get as a coach. But I had my 3 kids were born there. I mean, I got pregnant a year into the job. And so, I'm dropping off kids at parents' houses. I mean, I've got pictures of me on the sideline with my 3-month-old pointing and screaming. I've got one parent over there with a stroller. And I went on one of my first away trips to Birmingham, Alabama. I went with a parent. I drove to Kansas City with a parent with, I think my daughter then was 9 months old. And they were just like, yeah, of course we're going to help you get there. Of course we're going to watch your kids. Of course, like, and it was just like, of course we're going to do this. And the comfort I got, like, I never felt like I could just leave my kids. I mean, I just dropped my kids off with them and they're, so, I can't say enough about the people there. Like I said, I'm still good friends with several people there. And just to be able to let me, obviously be a good coach, but be a mom and still coach, like it's a bit rare. I think it's a big reason why many women get out of the game is because they don't have the support that they feel like they need to have a kid and be able to coach. And then the guilt trips and then the being away from the kids. Like, I really didn't feel much of that at all. Like, I felt super comfortable. I felt super at ease. I felt like a better coach actually when I had my kids, because I understood from the perspective of, would I want myself coaching my kids, or how would I want my kids to be coached by somebody else? And so, again, just to have it's cliche, but to have such a community of supportive people to let you do what you need to do and do it best, and not really, pass judgment. They're like, yeah, do what you need to do. My time there was some of the best I'll ever have. It was from going with Evie at Vanderbilt, that was like new coach, learning how to do things. That was kind of phase 1. Phase 2 is like, how do I be a mom and a wife and have a family and coach? And it was just like, and then I was able to kind of move on to something else. But that was a really, again, cliche, but a very pivotal point in my growth as a person for sure.
Good segue. That other thing, you go back into the college game while you were, the executive director of coaching at Sky Soccer Club. Were you having an itch to get back in the game, or were you like, okay, I don't care what goes on in the game? Or you're trying to keep your finger like, hey, what jobs are opening? Maybe some things will work out. What's the lay of the land here, at that, in your life?
I thought when I was at Sky, and again, you guys know, my husband was coaching college baseball. my two thoughts were, I'm probably never going to be a college coach again. This is just not in the cards, and that's fine. That's okay. I'm okay. I'm okay with that. But if it does happen, we're probably going to have to coach at probably the same place at a lower level. And as you know, that's exactly what happened. And in a whatever way the universe works and the good Lord works, like that's what happened. And we kind of looked at each other. We're like, it's even funny because so he was at DePauw first. I went to Franklin College. The DePauw job actually opened up 3 months after I was at Franklin, and that was the year we went to the NCAA tournament. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't leave where I'm at after 3 months and move on to this job. And Blake, Blake's kind of like, I'll support you, but I think this is a little bit crazy. I think this is what we asked for. Like, this is what we wish for. And I was like, I just can't leave. I think the good Lord gives you second chances, because the next year, the coach left and was like, DePaul's open again. This is your chance. And so here we go. So.
Yeah, here you go. Obviously, like you said, at Franklin, you get in the NCAA tournament your first year, so you get to experience that right off the bat. Your first year at DePauw, obviously winning record, 12 wins. COVID hits, 21's a horrible year, your worst year ever. But then you've been on four straight years of winning. 2, you've gotten into the NCAA tournament. What do you feel now that you're coaching Division III kids and you were recruiting Division I kids? What do you like about coaching Division III players?
It's a little bit of what Evie said about, not just D3, but the school where I'm at it's a very high it's like a Sewanee, right? It's a high academic, it's a good athletic overall school, and it's a great social environment. And so we get to bring in students who want all 3 of those things, and we can offer all 3 of those things: academics, great success in athletics overall, and a great social environment. And not just social in terms of like partying, but like it's a great place where they can be and do a million different things. They can start their own club. They can be president of their sorority. But what I like most is that I will say the purity of D3 athletics is they're not getting a scholarship, and they are choosing solely to be here and to do the work because they want to be a part of the program. And I lay it out. I'm like, this is going to be hard. This is not rec ball. This is not just club soccer. This is going to be hard, but you have to now choose this path, and you have to really want to be here, because we're not offering you anything. And so for them to say yes to that, I mean, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's easy when we can get good kids in, and I want to show up at practice and hang out with them and coach them and be there. That's phenomenal. And the D3 level, I mean, you said this is the job, and this is, the D3 level, it's not a job year round for them. They have balance, I have balance. Yeah. And, if I'm having to recruit every weekend in the spring, I couldn't do this. I mean, we'd be terrible, by the way, too, if we needed to do that. But I can have my niche of who I need to look at and recruit. I'm not cold calling random people. I'm getting my niche of, I look at, as you know, like Cincinnati kids, Chicago kids, Indy kids, St. Louis kids. Everybody else I'm not getting unless they come to me first. So I know, I'm like, if someone reaches out to me from not one of those areas, I'll look after them. If not, I'm not going there. And I get Grand Park 45 minutes from my house. I'm like, that's where I do probably 80 to 90% of my recruiting on a given year. So it's that balance of like, I can be good, we can win, we can be successful. I can pick the kids I want to get in, and they're really highly driven individuals. And I don't think you can be highly driven in academics and not be highly driven in athletics and in life. And so for me to get to choose to coach those kids and still have a life and get to my kids' games for the most part, it's a pretty win-win situation. Like I don't think there are many places I could go and do that. And and the support at DePauw from a financial support is I'm not having to put 5 kids in a room. We're not eating at Wendy's. Like, it's a pretty good experience overall. Like, we're always wanting more. Of course, we're always wanting more. But we've kind of got what we need.
Yeah, Pat, same question to you. You were coaching men's. What did you feel trying to recruit, Division III players? Especially, you even have a smaller pool because of the cult of Sewanee.
Yeah. So first off, I want to make sure you understand I had a Dodge Dart in college. So that I've just been dying to say that for about 25 minutes now. But anyway, seriously, I did. I think, like, again, Cristin just hit on it, where it's that efficiency that she's found the niche. She goes to Grand Park. She knows she's going to check a lot of boxes there. And if something off the radar is going to happen, it's because that they come into her radar. She's not sending out the beams everywhere again. So starting that way. Another thing is, Cristin, this was my observation with recruiting young ladies, is most of them are academically pretty strong anyway. Soccer players in general are good students on the female side. It's just it really seemed like, okay, I'm at a school and they're discerning and selective and all of this, but it was like I'd look at it and go, there's a fair amount of girls on each of these rosters that I can actually spend some time with and not worry about admission saying no, they're not going to make it. So just an observation of the girls' game in general out there. But now it's time for some levity. Okay. So, Cristin, you've been around men long enough that hopefully you're going to appreciate this. Recruiting a D3 on the women's side is like me going into a bar, and when the lights come on, now I can go to work. Okay? It's closing time. Who is left? And that is what recruiting girls at D3 is like. And that, because all of them think they're going to go, off the Park Avenue with so-and-so in his Ferrari and this and that and the other thing.
So true.
And that is what it's like. It's like, last call. Okay, now I get my book out and I'm starting to see who's left around. Okay, and if I can get one of them before the lights goes out, I've had a good night. Okay, so I'll leave it at that. Like I said, a little levity for the show, but it's tough.
No, but you're right. It's if I get a 2029 who's that's a freshman, right? And it's like, oh, coach, I'm interested in your program. Like I will try to reply to everybody. I'm like,
right.
I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I'm not going to watch you until you're maybe end of sophomore year, junior year. And because you're not, those kids just have, they got the sparkles in their eyes. They're emailing you because mom and dad probably wrote the email and they press send, I had a 2031 email, 7th grader. And I had to just, man, I'm so happy you emailed me and I hope you come to play for me, but I will not watch you until you hit puberty. Like, it's just not going to happen. I didn't say that in the email, but I'm thinking that, right? Like,
I mean, I wouldn't watch a sophomore or freshman unless there was nothing else at an event I'm at, and I just pop in and stuff. And then, but once they're second half of junior year, it's like, okay, these are my priorities. And then the seniors always, if you're a senior and you're still writing and you're looking, okay, it means you're not taken. You are now realizing that the D1 train isn't picking you up. So let's look at some other trains that, see what's going on. So you wait later. You find the niche.
Yeah. Well, and then there's the kids who, like, you wait too long. Like we kind of have our class done by probably January of their senior year. Yeah. Because there's kids that are really looking D1. They're like, all right, I can't get D1. But then there are kids who are like, I think I want to play now. And then you're like, oh my God, no,
Yeah, there's
no,
that too.
like, no. And you have to decipher, like, because you might miss a kid who really is like, I had one of our best players ever at DePauw. She reached out to me during COVID. It was April of her junior year. And I'm like, sorry, senior year. I'm like, oh my God, parents are on the Zoom. I'm like, what are we doing here? I'm like, fine, I'll take you. Oh, I want to run track too. Of course you do. Sure. She ends up being all conference 3 of the 4 years in both. I mean, one of our best players ever. But like, again, so to your point, like if someone reaches out to you, you got to kind of look into them, at least like give them a once over, but it can be difficult when too, you're also looking at like alumni and you're looking at the connections. You got to make sure to give enough love and respect, right? Because you want to make sure you're keeping those connections too. And we've had alumni kids who just aren't good enough, and it can be difficult letting those kids down because you got to tread lightly for those relationships.
Yeah, share some of that stories. I mean, you're saying tread lightly. I'm saying, here's $100,000, coming your way or the school's way, and you're saying tread lightly. I mean, go into that. The kid's not that good. What's this conversation, Pat? Maybe you had, an experience like that too. I'll come back to you, but go ahead, Cristin. Sounds like you've had 2 of these.
I mean, I'll say this, and in all honesty, if I'm looking at a kid who's got some sort of connection, and say parents are great alumni, or they're donors, or they're whatnot, and the kid's a great kid, I'm probably going to take that kid. The problem is if that kid is a bit of a butt, and it, and you've heard through the grapevine they're going to be a pain in the butt, and those the kids where I've said like, hey, I'm really sorry, our roster is completely full. I wish you the best of luck. And like, it's full, but it's not full, right? And so it's like you don't want to give them too many. I mean, I had one. I'll say this. She had an older sibling, and the older sibling was a pain in the butt, and I knew about it. And this kid was not a good player that was recruiting us. And I'm like, parents are writing emails. I can tell when the parent writes the emails, and kid's not really. I'm like, I'll give her one last chance. Watch her play in state cup. She played for 5 minutes and she was gassed. And I'm like, she's terrible. And so I wrote, I know I had to write this big, long, like I was very careful about it. And admissions still gets this, scathing email about how coach is unfair and coach sucks, basically. I'm just like, woo, thank the Lord I got out of that one, So it's like, again, I will take the good kid who's maybe not a great player, but I'm not going to take the great player of any sort, alumni or not, and the kid's just a butt. Like, I think it might have been Gino Ariemi. He had a player who was kind of being a pain in the ass, and the dad's like, "Oh, I thought you could help train her, this and that." And he's like, "What will make you think that I could change her in 4 years when you couldn't do it in your 18 years?" And like that was like, yep. I'm not going to do, and they're 18 years old. They're, I don't want to say they're set in their ways, but whatever their like foundation is as a person, I'm not changing that. I can enhance it, but I'm not changing if they're a butthead. Like, and I don't want to deal with a butthead. Whether you give us $1 million or not, I don't care. I'm not getting that money. So unless you want to get, goes back to it all goes back to the bottle water, the Aquafina. Get the Aquafina kids, not the Evian kids or whatever, the Dasani kids, whatever it is. Yeah.
That's it.
What were you going to say, Pat?
No, that's what I was going to say. It all goes back. I mean, I think all programs really look at character. We do, because we know what one bad element in a locker room can do, just for our experience or whatever. And of course, Cristin, I'm sure you're probably familiar with it. And everyone has a different ratio. It's the 85-15 rule or the 80-20 rule. Mm-hmm. You're familiar with that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where 80% of the players get 20% of your attention, and 20% of the players have to get 80% of your attention. So you try to avoid those 20%, right? And make it more like 95-5. But it's inevitable. The thing at the end of the day with the D3s is the girls are there because they want to be there. Okay. So you do try to facilitate this environment of fun. Okay. But when you're recruiting them, you also obviously, it's like competitively, what are you hoping for? But at the end of the day, for me, it was, this is going to be a sad statement, but most of the players picked me more so than me picking them and saying, you're coming in. Where I was, and at the time, was like a high school team. It's like, here's your play, here's the girls that want to come play soccer, more so than me getting all the players I wanted. Now, by the end of my tenure at Sewanee, I was there 10 years. I could bring 15 girls in all day that were decent players. Okay. But they weren't players that I would want or do the things that I'd want. So it was always about a new challenge this year of how I'm going to take this eclectic group of talent and make it a team, when I was such a philosophically tiki-taka kind of guy, but it's I wouldn't ever go back to D1 ever. Mm-hmm. If I went back into college, it would definitely be D3. And at the end of the day, it's exactly what you said, Cristin, because of the balance of your life and what, not being your job is your lifestyle all the time. Right. So I just wouldn't want that.
Yeah. Wow. I'll give you a quick little snippet. My two girls were out with a friend today, and I'm at my son's baseball game, and they text me and said, hey, I saw one of your players at Panera. And like, I know that's so little, but like the fact that they can recognize my players, my players can recognize them, that's huge. Like it seems so minimal. And then for my player to text like, hey, your girls are side-eyeing me in Panera today. Like, that's the conversation I want to have. I want to like, I want to be able to joke with my players and I want them to know it's that when there's a time to be serious, let's get serious, and there's time to have fun. I mean, if you trip and fall and hit your face on the ball, I'm going to laugh at you, and you should too. Like this should, like, the way I tell, like, look, if you don't like this game anymore, it's not fun, you're done. I'm like, stop playing. And the day I'm not having fun coaching, I'm done coaching as well. Like, this should be fun. And I would rather have a team of just Joe Schmoes who I really like and want to just try and do the best. And maybe we're not very good, as opposed to we win a bunch of games. And I've had a year like that where we did well, and I couldn't wait for the year to be over. Couldn't wait. And it's terrible. It's a terrible feeling knowing you're trying to just push through and do the right thing. But inside you're just like, God, I want them gone. You want the year to be over. And, players and parents ask me like, hey, what do you look for? I'll joke because, you're goalkeepers, right? What do you look for in a goalkeeper? I'm like, that they keep the ball at the back of the net. I'm like, I don't care how they do it. They want to stand on their head and use their feet. They want to I don't care. Like, I know, but you're looking for tall, good on their feet. I'm like, yeah, all of it. Like, what style do you play? I'm like, I love tiki taka, and we keep the ball possession 90%. We're doing this. We're playing 3-5-2. I'm like, but I don't always get those players. So we play what's best. I'm like, some years it's 3-5-2. Some years we just bomb the ball because we're terrible with our feet. I'm like, we just figure things out. I'm like, I want players who are willing to just figure things out. And if I say, hey, I need you at left back and you're the right forward, they might give me a funny look, but they'll say, sure, what the heck, and like, I want those players, like, because at the end of the day, that's again, I want to look back and enjoy my time. And if I don't get players that I enjoy being with and who have the same value system as me, this is not going to work out. Like, if you're a selfish, entitled brat who only cares about your stats, I'm very frank. Like, if you just want to play here and do your own thing, this is not the place for you. Like, you need to go somewhere else. And I'm very, very, very frank about that. I'm like, you better work your ass off. You better have a good attitude, and you better be coachable. If I ask you to stand on your head and do a bicycle kick, you might look at me funny, but you say, sure, I'll try. Right? Like, if you lose the ball, I don't care how many times you lose the ball as a forward, but you better be tracking back as fast as you can. Like, and there's going to be days where you're off. I get it. There's going to be days where I don't want to be there. but compartmentalize that for a little bit and just be there for your teammates and do the right thing, and then go home and cry. Like I do the same thing. Like, can you imagine if like I showed up every day and was like, God, I just don't want to be here and coach you guys today. Like, what would you think? Like, I'm like, and I get it. We all have those moments, but I'm like, just put forth a little more effort. And some days are going to be great days, and some days just get the day over with and go home and try again tomorrow. Like, it's, it is about character. It is about just what are the values that you're espousing to the group. And, we call them givers and takers. You better be more of a giver than a taker. You're going to get a lot from this program. But you better be giving a lot. And if 30 plus of you are giving, that it's an exponential of what you're going to get back. So.
Wow. I was going to say, what separates DePauw from some other schools? I think you summed it up right there. Especially, you're competing, I think, in a very, very competitive marketplace. Schools are very, very similar. You guys have similar, cost. Facilities, I think, are similar. A lot of the coaches aren't leaving, so there's a lot of stability. So it's really hard, I feel, to be in your shoes to, try to recruit. What's your take on that landscape I just shared?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's hard because last game of conference, we were either going to be first or we were going to be sixth. And we ended up, if we had tied the game, we would have been in fifth place. And because we won the game 1-0, we end up in second place. Like, it really comes down to that. And so again, it goes back to that. No matter what happens at the end of the day, can you say I did everything I could to like make our team good? Did I do everything I could to help our team win? And if you can say yes to that, I'm cool. If you can't, then you need to look back and like really figure out where you went wrong. And I honestly, this is in my heart of hearts, think I know what we do differently. I think people talk about culture and they think it's one big kumbaya at the beginning of the year where we hold hands and slaughter a pig and say, yep, we're close now. I mean, we're not perfect. And if a parent says like, are you all close? I'm like, no. But if you want us to be a family, sometimes you're going to hate your family. Sometimes you're going to fight with them. And like, to me, if there's not conflict, like you're not going to get through anything. And like, we do little things all the time. And I'm very strict on the little details. And a little detail for us, for example, is like when there's a break in our practice, you have to give touch points, you have to give high fives, and everybody goes and gets balls and pennies and cones. Like everybody moves stuff, everybody gives high fives, everybody has to go to somebody on their team. And again, like, does that seem like it's a big deal? And the freshmen to come in there like, what are we doing? But it makes people feel comfortable, it makes people feel noticed, and it puts everybody on the same page. It puts everybody on the same like level too, where we're all having to do this and we're all noticing each other. And again, that's just a small example, but I'm very particular about how we do the little things and why we do them. And all those little habits build what our program is. It's not just some cool little saying we have on the board in our locker room, like, oh, we have grits. And I would venture to say that most people have no idea what their actual values are. And if they do, they don't know their definition. And if they know their definition, they don't know actually what they do. Like they can't tell you, oh, we're resilient. Okay, what do you do to do resilience and talk about that? We're resilient. I'm like, okay, cool. Like you can't use the definition, the word in the definition. You have to like actually use another word to define or say what you do. But I like that we're very focused on just the little things of noticing who we are as people, and not like we talk about role and values, two separate things. Role is what you do day of the game. Value is who you are as a person. And your value is more important than your role. And we're always going to try to elevate the value of who you are as a human being versus the role. Role is like, cool, you're a starter, you're not a starter, no big deal. You can always change your role. But we're really trying to value the little things. And we do all of our end of year awards based solely on values. We don't do player of the year. We don't do statistical leaders. We don't do any of that. Conference does all that. And we know who our best players are, but we want to make sure that we're noticing who our best people are as well.
Wow. Pretty powerful, Evie, huh? What do you think?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I will say this. I used to go down and to Sewanee and help Pat with his goalkeeper so quite a bit. And what I enjoyed about it was, training the goalkeepers is always fun for me, but I'd hang around and watch the team play. And the great thing about, these labels, D1, D2, D3, whatever you want to call them, these kids wanted to play. I mean, they wanted to play. And you don't always see that, or in sort of a more cutthroat D1 program. You don't always see that, and I always appreciated that. And the other thing that I would say is, if we have, by chance, if we have any young players listening here, the whole idea of playing in soccer in college is playing, right? It's not go be on a team,
Mm-hmm.
It's unless that's what you want to do, because we've all coached kids that they just want to be on the team, Oh, great. Okay. That's great. But, your serious kids want to play, right? So if as Pat says, the D1 train is left, then, find another place you can play, and playing means, every game. And I tell this to kids all the time who are looking at trying to get into college. I've been very fortunate. I've coached national championships in Division I, Division II, and in the NAIA. Okay. That day, there is absolutely no difference between Division I, Division II, and NAIA when you step on the field, right?
Yeah.
If you're involved in that game, it is exactly the same, right? I don't care if there's 3,000 people in the stands or 30,000 people in the stands. If you're a player or a coach in a championship game like that, it feels the same, regardless of the level. And what you have to do is get to that game, right? And that's, it's the old thing that the journey is more important than the result, and if you do the journey right and have a little bit of luck along the way, you get to that game. And when you get to that game, enjoy every second of it,
Mm-hmm.
Because it's hard to get to, and so, I think we get way caught up in these labels and stuff like that. And, it's just, to me, it's, you started playing this game as a kid for fun. It's called a game for that reason. It's supposed to be fun. The most important thing to you as a player should be playing, and
to just be the curmudgeon here on it, though, think about the experience with the clubs, right? Is they don't want their kid going to DePauw. They want them going to DePauw, right? Because it looks better for their brand to have all these kids. So a lot of times, and this, I found this at Sewanee all the time, all right? Eye roll, head shake, whatever you want to call it, where it was just a matter of, you're not doing what's best for that kid. You're just trying to make yourself look good as the coach, or you're trying to make the club, It's like you're going to send someone somewhere for after their first year, they're going to either quit or they're going to transfer out. It's like that girl could come and play for me and really enjoy the experience and light it up. But sending her to whatever is going to be, a dead end for that kid. But, again, it's sorry to go off on the,
you're right.
The ills of club soccer in this country, but it's just too prevalent, unfortunately.
Well, but you're right. The data point stops at where they send them, but the data point should continue on to, did they end up playing there? Did they transfer? Did they actually play? Did they get to just, to Evie's point, did you get to just wear the jersey? And now with the roster limits, you can't just wear the jersey. You're going to get cut. It's.
I can't, and Shuby can attest to this. I can't tell you how many times I would walk into Shuby's office or walk into Ronnie's office and I would start ranting about what in the holy fuck are the club teams doing, because they're not developing players for the next level. which was the whole idea of the club system in the first place, right?
Yeah.
And Pat's right. I mean, let's think about this seriously, because we've all been involved with club soccer. How many times have you heard a coach tell a kid what to expect at the next level? It's very rare. It's very rare. And not just tell them once, right? But get it across to them that, yes, train you in college, girls or boys, you train more than twice a week. You don't drive your 2026 Mustang up to practice, jump out, train for an hour and a half, and then go home and drink beers. Well, some do, but you don't do that, right? And unfortunately, as Pat says, and he's 100% correct, the club coaches can't figure out how Alex Ferguson misplaced their number.
Yeah.
He should be calling me any day now to put me on the Manchester United staff. It's
Well,
no, I don't think so.
The coaches and the clubs are just part of the three-headed monster. You've got the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You got the parents. It's like, oh, my daughter. They would rather say my daughter's playing for some D1 team. When she doesn't play, then she plays at DePauw, or she plays at Sewanee, or she plays.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it then trickles down to even like saying you play for an ECNL club.
Yes.
Like,
absolutely. Yeah.
I play for this club. Yeah. And you're like,
acronym.
Oh my God. Who cares?
And I do want to say this, Cristin. Actually, when I say DePauw and Sewanee and that, actually, I've always had great respect for DePauw, because they've always had I think a more escalated commitment to athletics than most other D3s, based on the times I went there when we were in the same conference, and all of that. And just, again, my first encounter with DePauw was playing John Carter. And I was like, damn, this guy's a hell of a coach,
Yeah.
and these kinds of things. But DePauw, when I say DePauw, I think is one of the much better, stronger D3 athletic programs in D3. So anyway, just want to be clear that no insult ever if I'm throwing you name in with someone who's not it.
No, and like we always talk about, like, you get the MPI and the RPI and all that. I think your teams 1 through 20, you're looking at your UA schools, like your WashUs, your Emorys, the NESCACs, like your Williams. Like, I do think that's somewhat of an upper echelon in the D3 world, but I think your teams 25 through almost 200, those can, 25 can beat 200, the next 200 beat 25. I think there's so much parity as well in D3, and I don't think parents also recognize that, and club coaches don't want to recognize that, because again, it comes down to, like you said, the alphabet soup of like, the name soup of like, oh, my kids, are you at DePauw or DePaul, right? And it just sounds cooler, right? But at the end of the day, again, it's the Instagram cool of like, I get to put this on my Instagram, like, look, #blessed, committed, woohoo. Right. And then you're next thing you know, you're dancing with the LSU football coach or the ex-football coach. And right. God, if I ever had to do that, I would quit. You don't want to see me dancing ever. Beers or no beers.
I always used to call those the car sticker parents, right? That wanted to put the Vanderbilt mom in their car, in their BMW, so people would know that, oh, my daughter's playing at Vanderbilt. It's like, great. Great. Awesome. That and $2.02 will get you a coffee at Starbucks. Good job. So,
not $2, not anymore.
I know, not anymore.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
They changed the name to $6 from Starbucks.
Yeah.
Or if you have teenage daughters, it's like more like $8, because cold foam ain't cheap. I'll tell you that.
All right, EV, take us on home here.
Okay. Well, did we mention in the last broadcast, because Blake was actually he's still in Indiana, right?
He's not in Indiana.
Oh, okay. What are you doing?
He's teaching now. He's
he really?
teaching
Cool.
6th grade. Yeah. So
Okay,
he's
in town, so you don't have the commute and all that stuff.
Yeah, so it's been great. I mean, it's a bit of a transition for him, but for our family, it's been,
It's
we
been
got
great. Yeah.
it's been great. We got 3 kids going in 7 different directions some weeks, and it's just like, so he's still coaching a little bit of baseball with their youngest.
Yeah.
U10 baseball is a little different from Big Ten baseball, so that's it.
Yeah. It's probably more fun. So
Well,
At times.
Evie, I gotta say, I know you wanted to get her on for a while, and it was, definitely a challenge to get her on here for the last 30 days. Every weekend she has something with her family. So
sure.
Cristin,
Yeah.
I thank you so much for freeing
I
this up,
appreciate you guys.
and sharing some very, very funny stories. And, I'm glad of Evie to, we always talk like, who do we want and why do we want on the show? And I'll let Evie, I'll swing it back to Evie because it's got a different interest, perspective.
As you know, Cristin, this was predicated on, Bone and I were like, we should do a podcast and it should be like based on the bar conversations at the coaches convention, right? Because I don't. Maybe there's people out there that go to the sessions and then go talk about them at the bar. I've never talked to any of those people, so I can't speak to that. But it's telling stories, and so it was. I always wanted to get you on because we had, and we could have had a 4-hour storytelling session. But thank you very much for coming on and sharing with us. And would do you give you a chance to plug DePauw here to our 6 listeners who may tell their families, but tell us about DePauw women's soccer. Give us a spiel.
Spiel is
golly, he's been doing it for the last hour.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, you get.
How they get? Okay, you're right. How they get in touch with you?
You can email me, Cristin Allen at DePauw.edu, Instagram. I don't DM. I don't slide into my DMs because I don't check those. I don't even know how to check those. But I will say this: if you want a great school, great program, and a pretty cool coach, even though my kids don't think I'm cool, I think DePauw is a great place. It's on, it is the place where I've had the longest tenure in my career. To be honest, I've been here now for 7 years. The longest I've been anywhere else is at Vandy at 5 years and Sky 5 years. So, if that says anything, it to me it shows the I want to be there. I think it's a great place, and again, I'm not going to recruit everybody because I don't want everybody to come to DePauw, but I want the kids who want all the things that we just talked about. So if they did listen to this podcast, they will know what that is. And if they didn't, they can come to our ID camp July 10th and 11th.
There's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
ID camp July 10th and 11th. Be there or be square.
Be there.
All right. I got a slogan so good for you, you're going to finish it for me.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
DePauw with the W, and the W stands for
winners, not losers.
Bingo.
I have used that. I said we're the DePauw with the W, not the L. W for winners, DePauw. L for losers. And then I had a girl whose dad recruited. Her dad coached at DePauw. I'm like, please don't tell your dad that. She's like, oh, I'm definitely telling him that.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you very much for spending time with us.
Cristin.
We greatly appreciate it. And give Blake our best. And you said you have, how old are your kids now?
I got a 13, so 8th grader, 6th grader, 4th grader. I got a high schooler next year. Yeah.
Good.
I know.
God.
I know. She made varsity this year, so I got my first varsity. I'm gonna get the bumper sticker. I'm gonna get the sign in the yard.
Yes.
I'm gonna get the cheer mom, like everything.
We got everything.
I gotta let everybody know just who my daughter is and how great she is. So.
That's great. I'm sure she'll love that.
She will definitely not love that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again. We'll and Ryan, thank you. I hope your daughter is recovering, and hope everything goes well for you. And guys, thanks again for joining us. We will see you next week.
Hey, can you guys hang on a second?
Yes.
For me, please.
Yeah.
Cristin, thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Good to see you guys.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Marjorie.
See ya.
Bye.
Guys, I just want to do like a white glove goalkeeping thing, and this is a great platform for me to make the foundation on. It takes like 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. So, Greg, if you would just, you're going to cue it. You're just going to say, so what is it you're doing with these guys in June?
Okay.
And then I'll go into my animation on it. Okay.
All right. Are you
All right.
ready? All right, Pat, what are you doing with these guys in June?
It's going to be an experience. It's going to be experience. It's going to be bigly. It's going to be great. No, all kidding aside. Listen, basically these kids are going to be with me for about 3.5 weeks. And with me, I mean, a whole cast of characters. Tony Robinson's going to be part of it. Jordan Pickford's trainer, Dave Lucas, Nick Noble from West Virginia, Everton's women's coach, goalkeeper coach, Ian McCaldon. So basically, we're going to just travel through the Southeast. The first week is boot camp with me, and in that boot camp, we're going to do 2 ID camps. So these kids are going to get in front of over 20 college coaches. And then all along the way, we're going to be stopping at universities. We have a camp we're doing in Nashville. We have a camp we're doing in Raleigh-Durham, and we have a camp we're doing in Arlington, Virginia. So basically look at the group of coaches as the band, and then I have these 8 to 10 boys that'll be traveling with us, and they're the roadies. So they're going to train every day with these guys that are world-class goalkeeper trainers. They're going to be in camp experiences. Along the way, we're going to visit colleges on the path. We're going to have them perform in front of the college coaches. So, I mean, it's just like we're checking all the boxes for these kids training-wise, exposure-wise. Every night we're staying in a big Airbnb. So they're going to be having dinner with these guys, talking goalkeeping, you know, picking their brains. And it's just one of those things that White Glove does, man. It's unique, it's special, and it's just an experience that I hope these kids never forget.
It is total immersion. And I was actually, you know what, that sounds great, because I was actually talking to somebody the other day about, you know, the fact that, and I don't know if this is true with field players, but goalkeepers don't study the position anymore. You know, they go out and train,
Yep.
right? But they don't study the position. And by studying the position, I mean, you know, researching who these, for example, who's Jordan Pickford's trainer, you know, who was the England goalkeeper before Jordan Pickford, right? You know, and studying the history of the position, and so this kind of thing that you just described, Pat, is, like you said, that is a lifetime opportunity, and more importantly, a lifetime memory that these kids will have.
It's an experience that is just like, you know what, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can do this. It's just, they're here. We're taking the tour. Why not rent a van and put the kids in the van? You know, yep, they're going to have to sleep on couches and air mattresses in some of the places. But it's like, yeah, every night, you know, Tony Robinson alone could occupy these kids every night with his stories. But yeah, it's like, so we were on the training ground and Pickford did this. And then, you know, we were on the training ground and, you know, the guy works with England's keepers too. And so it's like, just, if I was a kid, I would have been like, what? Where do I sign up?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
So,
And is it something that kids can sign up for when in these different cities you're going to? It's just, this is a barnstorming tour.
no, this is it's not really a barnstorming tour. The whole idea came about because it's like, we're going to each of these towns and doing a camp, right? So we're committed with TSC in Nashville. Okay. The one I'm doing in Raleigh-Durham is all White Glove. I'm not affiliated with anyone because of the proprietary nature of those clubs and their players. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But, you know, Stewart and Logan and those guys were like, this is great. Let's do something for our keepers. And then the guy in Arlington, Virginia, his kid actually did one of the Virginia camps we did last year, and he's the director of coaching there. And he was like, I want to do this at my club.
Right.
And I was like, okay, great. We'll be glad to bring him up, you know?
Yeah.
So basically I'm bringing the camp to the camp in a sense. And the thing is too, is that I'm very selective with these kids. It's not something I am marketing per se. It's invitation. This is definitely invitation only and kids I know. I'm not going to take some kid I don't know for 3.5 weeks.
Right.
These are kids I've worked with in the past and said, hey, you know, I'd love to have you along. I think you love this experience. We'd love to have you.
Wow,
that's
great.
Share that a little bit, Pat, with us as far as, you know, have you trained, you know what, I guess there's 5, 6, 7, 8 kids going. Of these 8 kids, how long have you trained these guys? 2, 3 years? I mean, what's the
Some of them, yeah. I've got one of my very first white glove kids is going on this. He's been in England. He's just finished his second year gap year experience, and he's really. I was on a phone call with him the other day, saying, you know, now you're going to be a 20-year-old coming over here looking to play college ball. You've become one of those, right? One of the bad guys, but the difference between him 2 years ago and now, it's like, I'm ready to put this kid in front of D1 guys.
Yeah.
He is playing like an animal. We got another kid over there. He's in his first year as a gap year experience, and he's already with an EFL team. He does have the papers for England, passport. So he's already training with the U23 team in the EFL. He's one injury away from dressing out for the first team.
Good for him.
In League Two, you know, so it's like, and so these kids are going to come back. And so now when I bring them into the camp, they're actually setting the standard, you know, and we call them the masterclass, where we'll have the drill and they'll do it, et cetera. And then we'll break them off and everybody do what you just saw. Right.
Yep. That's great.
So, but yeah, most of these kids, I'm trying to think, the newest kid would probably be, I've known 6 months. I've been training 6 months, would be the newest kid, but easily 1.5 to 3 years, most of these kids. So
that's great.
And we did a little bit of a version of it last year where I brought 4 of them along, you know, kind of like a beta test. And everybody loved it. The coaches loved having the kids around. The kids, of course, were like blown away. So yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool.
So what I want to do is I already have this vision right now, just making it's more about the brand. I'm not selling anything in particular. It's just like, here's something that this company does that nobody else does shit like this, you know?
Right.
And so, you know, so I already have the whole dialogue as I'm going through and picture this coach, picture that coach, goalkeepers training, blah, blah, blah. I've become quite good with the visuals on social media. So it's really taken off for me.
Good. Well, that's white glove goalkeeping, folks. And where can they get information for that, Pat?
Keep it out of the .net.
Keep it out of the .net. All right. That's cool. That's cool.
That is the website.
And that's also a good segue into something that, Bone, you and I've talked about is, you know, the traveling Wilburys that they're describing there. You know, at some point you and I have to lead the AISA barnstorming tour across the Midwest and get some of those guys on, because that was an epic road trip for sure.
That was.
So
we'll have to reach out to Mike Noonan.
Yeah. We'll have to get some guys who was on that, but a couple of the other guys too. And
when did you all do this?
We did this in 1982 or 3.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. And this was it was put together by Bill Nuttall, who and a guy named Mr. Lemieux. I can't remember what his first name was. Bob Lemieux, who actually played for the Oakland Seals back in the NHL days, Pat, when they were first. Yeah. But anyway, they they put together a tryout, and we had me and Ian coached them. Me and Ian Hamilton coached them.
Okay.
And it was guys came in for a tryout.
You had to pay. Pat.
You had to pay. Yeah, I think we had like, I don't know, 100 guys, something like that, came in for a tryout, and Ian and I selected a team that would then go and play in 6 different arenas. It was indoor soccer, and 6 different potential AISA, American Indoor Soccer Association, franchise sites. And so we called it the Barnstorming Tour, and it was classic. It was classic. It was a combination of Spaceballs and Slapshot.
That's what I was thinking.
It was unbelievable, right? I mean, it was like holy shit.
With a little bit of Spinal Tap thrown in. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So, but Greg and I were talking about this the other day, and we're like, yeah, we got to tell this story one episode, because it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh, after each camp, I've already got hotels, like they're going into Broadway. All the coaches.
Are they really?
And I'll stay with the kids at the house, Tony and I, the old geezers, and they're going to go just cut loose. Franklin Street and Chapel Hill when we're there.
Yeah.
DC, actually, they're leaving the last day, so they won't have the DC experience like that. But yeah, so it's EV. So we're still doing the camp in each of those towns where we want the kids to come in like the conventional camp model.
Right.
But I'm bringing 8 to 10 keepers already.
Yeah, I got you.
And it brings the energy and everything. It's just
sure.
So
that's great.
That's great. Well, I appreciate the extra time, boys.
Yeah, no worries. That's keep us updated on that, because that's you'll have to. I know you'll be busy, but at least like one night we'll have to do a remote, from wherever you are, and
Yeah, no, that's a good idea, Evie.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get these goalkeepers trained.
Yeah.
If
that would be. Dude, listen, you would have some really rich content, with these guys, and we could do it absolutely on while we're in Nashville would be great, because then you would be on site.
Yeah. Oh, that's gonna be better.
Yeah.
So
cool.
That sounds like a plan.
Sounds like a plan.
All right.
Sounds like a plan.
All right,
guys. Till next time. Thanks for everything.
Thank you for watching and listening to the 3 Old Goalies podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. Follow us on social media. And if you enjoyed the show, give us a like or a 5-star review. That helps us reach more listeners just like you. And truly, thank you for being one of our 3 listeners.